The ruined ski jump makes it pretty clear that solid foundations are a must to keep structures sturdy. But it's a lesson that planners in one Brazilian city seem to have forgotten. Go to any modern city in the world and gleaming towers dominate the skyline. We've been building skyscrapers for well over 100 years, so engineers have had a lot of practice. But things can still go badly wrong. And in Santos, Brazil, they have messed up big time. And not just once, 100 times over. Santos is home to 500,000 Brazilians, and its picture postcard beachfront attracts tourists from all over the world. You can even snap up one of their beachfront apartments at a bargain price. Why? Because local property values are plummeting, as the buildings here are leaning over so much there's a danger they may plummet too. How did the Leaning Towers of Santos end up so lopsided? And just how dangerous is this construction calamity? I've asked fellow journalist Daniel Lefebvre to head from São Paulo to Santos to find out what's gone wrong and to meet the team that's putting it right. Hey Daniel, how are you?
Good morning, Justin.
I'm here in the coastline of Santos, right, at the beach. The coastline of Santos exists of a lot of buildings, and almost all of them have a little bit of inclination. This one in particular, it's called Excelsior, and it has an inclination of 2 meters. I think to get a better view of what we're talking about, we're going to take a boat and go a little bit farther into the sea to film the whole coastline.
It's bad enough that the Excelsior is leaning over, but it's just one of many.
So here we are, I think a few 100 meters from the beach of Santos. All these buildings that you see, they're all built during the boom here in Brazil between the 60s and the 70s. That's one of the most crooked buildings I've ever seen in my life.
Look at that for wonky! And put up against the grid, this engineering disaster is even more obvious. The problem lies in Santos's soil. If you dig down, the first 7 meters is just sand, and after that you have a 30 to 40 meter layer of clay, and only then do you reach bedrock. Now, to really secure these buildings, you want to have the foundations go down to that rock strata and concrete them into place. But incredibly, to save money, builders and engineers didn't even reach the clay layer. Talk about houses built on sand. Without foundations rooted into the bedrock, the entire building is prone to sinking. And if there's more sinking on one side than the other, then hey presto, you've got the Leaning Towers of Santos. So what's it like for the locals who have to walk under these wonky towers every day?
Parece que vai cair qualquer hora.
Você não moraria num prédio desse?
Perigoso que a gente sente tontura. Tem um amigo meu que mora na frente, você entra dentro do prédio e sente um pouco tonto, né?
Você teria coragem de morar num prédio desse?
Não, eu tô fora, cara. Moro na minha casinha lá na favela lá mesmo, tô feliz, cara.
If the locals are scared that the towers could collapse, what must it be like to live in one?
This is the site where here it has gone in 2 meters.
Daniel secured an invite to find out.
Even going up the elevator, it feels a little bit like we are slanted to the left. Beleza? Well. Hey Justin, we just came up and we are here inside Michel's apartment. This guy, he owns a bar downstairs that's called Crooked, right? And we're here like to feel how it is to live crooked, right? Even if you're sober.
Michel lives at the very top of one of the wonkiest buildings in Santos. So how bad is it?
This is how we measure inclineness in Brazil with a football, of course. And
comes back.
That's incredible! What an engineering own goal!
Por exemplo, colocar um quadro na parede. Você não pode colocar o quadro reto. Se você colocar o quadro reto, vai parecer que ele está torto. Então você tem que colocar ele torto para ele parecer que está reto.
5 graus.
The apartment is an entire 5 degrees off the horizontal. So my question is, if the flat is so crooked, why doesn't Michelle move?
Olha isso. Vê se não vale a pena. Todo dia, cada dia um visual diferente. Cada dia um... Né? A gente tem tudo isso aí, quer dizer, pra mim é muito bom.
Who cares about an inclination if you have this view of the city, right? I would buy it.
The poor foundations were laid during a building boom 40 years ago, but it's today's generation who have to put things right. And Daniel's on his way to find out how the city's crack team of surveyors are steering Santos clear of catastrophe.
Okay, Justin, we are here next to the building, this big one, and the mayor sent his team out to do the measuring of the building to see whether it has shifted from the last year or not.
Fortunately, the surveyors gave this one the all clear. But if any of the buildings start leaning too far, the owners face a tough choice. Demolish the building or pay for some serious renovations, like they did with the Nunzio Malzoni building just along the beach. In 2011, the entire 17-storey tower was jacked up off its old footings and lowered onto a new bed of extra-deep foundations stretching 55 metres down into the bedrock. The work came with a hefty $500,000 price tag, which is why, for now, no one's willing to pick up the bill for putting all Santos's leaning towers straight.
I guess this is it. This is my last report from Santos. I guess it's a very delicate problem because nobody wants really to be responsible for what happened here. But it's still very pretty. At night, you don't see the crooked buildings, right? At night is a very, very, very pretty skyline.
Jacking up a tower is impressive, but I can't help thinking there must be a cheaper way of shoring up the buildings. And I wonder if they can take inspiration from the engineers who propped up Italy's Leaning Tower of Pisa. There they drilled a series of very narrow holes diagonally into the ground underneath the higher side of the building. The weight of the tower forced those holes to collapse. The whole tower moved and its incline was reduced. It wouldn't stop the buildings from leaning altogether in Santos, but what it might do is save the city a lot of money. Next.